Hey folks, sorry about that. Just kind of itching my nose out a little bit. Hey guys, Levi here once again. Welcome back to another superhero review. Hope you enjoyed my review. Suicide Squad: Hell to Pay. Remember, guys, stick to the Levi McNally 983 with a mass profile picture. Stick with this channel, guys. Thank you for the 230 subs. Keep on subscribing, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. I'm sorry about watching. I really do. Sorry. I know I'm not trying to be disgusting or anything. Sorry. Well, I'm sure you can see me good. But anyway, guys, what I've been doing is a superhero marathon on my channel here, and I'm been doing what I call the 2010s era superhero reviews. These are superhero movies that came out in the 2010 decades, starting with 2010 to 2019, and I'm in the year 2018, and I'm on the third movie now. I did review Scooby-Doo and Batman Brave and the Bold on my other channel, also Batman Gotham by Gaslight, and before this movie was Batman Ninja, which was direct-to-video. At the time of 2019, I did review that, and it came before this, but this came out in April. This came out in April too. This is the 19th film in the MCU in the third Avengers movie. And it's written by Anthony and Joe Russo, and that is Avengers: Infinity War. Yeah, which I know this month it has an anniversary, so it's been about what 6 years, 7 maybe. Yeah, so I think so. I'm not gonna go, but I think about 7 this month. But yeah, Avengers: Infinity War. I remember being real excited for this movie when it came out. This was a big deal. This is an ensemble film, so you do have a really big cast in the movie. Yes, a big major cast of characters. Now, I know some people probably say least favorite. It is a bit of an end game of a movie. The stakes are high in this film, especially with Thanos, who's a very powerful villain. We'll get more into that, but Marvel was building up for this moment, so we probably knew that it was going to be an emotional ride. Not just in Avengers Endgame, but Infinity War 2. We knew shit was going to hit the fan when we got to this movie. You ought to know that. There wasn't going to be no happy ending here. Spoiler alert, there's not really no happy ending at all. But anyway, with that being said, I remember this movie being really excited for. I remember there was commercials and toys for the movie. It's a big deal, and me and my cousin, my brother, we went to go see this movie. My cousin bought tickets, but we should have been earlier. Because let me tell you why. We bought the tickets, watched in the movie theater, and the theater was crowded. Yes, very crowded. So what we had to do is we had to go into another theater. We did. We saw the movie. I liked it. I loved it. I think my brother and cousin, they were not too big on the movie. Are not a fan of it, but you know. But you want to understand this movie, you gotta watch the entire, starting with Iron Man. But like I said, it's the 19th film in the MCU. Let's get into the production of it. Can't do it on here, but let's see. Yeah. So basically, for development, though, throughout the early years of the MCU, Marvel Studios began preparing for adaptation of Jim Starlin's The Infinity Gauntlet by introducing the Infinity Stones. And the Space Stone is the Tesseract and Captain America, the First Avenger. The Mind Stone is Loki's Scepter and the Avengers, and the Reality Stone and Thor: The Dark World. And the Power Stone within the orb. And Doctor Strange has one too in his eye, Ocno. These McFuggins, these McGuffins, and the Infinity Stones separate objects from Marvel Comics. According to James Gunn, writer and director of Guardians of the Galaxy films, Marvel said that Aether and Princess would be used as Infinity Stones during the first Thor: The Dark World. Before that decision, the orb was intended to have red energy in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film. This was changed to purple in post-production to give each of the Infinity Stones its own color, since the Aether was also red. Gunn did not know the importance of the stones to the wider MCU when he created their backstory. Thanos, a villain who covets the Infinity Stones, was introduced to the MCU in a brief MCU appearance at the end of the Avengers, just briefly, and many, and in the text of the sequel, Avengers: Age of Ultron, but we only saw him at the end. And he does, Thanos doesn't play much of a part. It's Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy. Josh Whedon wrote and directed the first two Avengers films, explaining that the character would not be the antagonist. That was Loki and Ultron, of course. Yeah. He's not someone you can try to outpunch. Like in the comics, you want him to be threatening enough through the universe and to save the big finale for the big final. Thanos appears at the end of Age of Ultron, but in a brief appearance. This time they have the Infinity Gauntlet and saying, "I'll do it myself." That's when we see him. He said there's some notions to where Marvel would want to take a third Avengers film was aiming for 3 years between Age of Ultron and the sequel. In October 2014, Marvel announced that two-part sequel, Age of Ultron Infinity War Part 1, is scheduled for release in 2018 and 2019, and Part 2 was for May 3rd. Marvel's plan was to film both parts back to back. Whedon said it was very doubtful that he would involve with the two films. Rumors said that the making of Age of Ultron had been difficult for Whedon. Marvel did approach him about the next films, and Whedon did not rule it out. Marvel knew any contribution from film would not be able to happen to Whedon. Later says the series increasingly enormous, as after Avengers Age of Ultron, he would go on to work on Justice League. They reached a deal by April 2015 with Anthony and Joe Russo because they directed The Winter Soldier and Civil War, which were really good movies. So I'm not saying Josh Whedon couldn't have done it, but I'm glad the Russo brothers do it because they know how to make you know us feel emotionally connected to the characters. They know how to tell a good story. A month later, Marcus and McFly has signed on to return for the Captain America films, writing the screenplays for both parts for Infinity War. Despite announcing the films as Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and 2, they did change it though. They wanted to retread it in April 2016, saying these two films were very, very different from one another. It's not Part 1 and Part 2 scenario. Russo said the second title would not be revealed for quite some time. Yeah, Christopher Marcus and Steve McFly here, they're the ones that wrote the script for this movie, and up here picture is Anthony and Joe Russo, who previously directed Captain America Soldier. That is the best, probably one of the best MCU movies ever, in my opinion. Probably my favorite. Yeah. When they were hired to write the films, Marcus and McFly were told by Feige Marvel to make two separate films rather than a two-part story. They were also asked to use Thanos and the Infinity Stones, which suggests Marcus that Guardians of the Galaxy should be like included films. During the film of Civil War in 2015, they started reading comic books and writing down ideas for what could happen, so they started preparing to do this. So they ended up with 60 pages worth of ideas, which Marvel went through. Yeah. The writers began work on the actual screenplays in January 2016, sorry. The Russos and the writers worked all the Phase 3 filmmakers, keep continually talking on almost a weekly basis. Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson was kept in the loop on how Stephen Strange was being used through his close relationships with Feige and Joe Russo. Derrickson also gave general advice on the plot of both Avengers films to Joe. Gunn wanted to ensure that the Guardians were as funny as they should be and honest and truthful as they should be. Gunn came up with at least one hysterical joke for the Guardians and chose the Rubber Band Man of the Spinners as their opening song in Infinity War. Gilbert decided to choose made by Marcus and McFly for Peter Quill, and that Chris Pratt felt was not true to the character. After the beginning of principal photography, film began on Infinity War in January 2017. The process became Marcus' strategy. Practice or whatever. Sorry, I'm just going through stuff. It's a lot to read here, so I'm not. Again, Robert Downey Jr. said in the Star's grouping there was a desire to keep a little bit of the science bro Stark Banner relationship alive. They expanded positive Stark Parker behavior relationship from the previous films, as Spider-Man is into this first now. While working on Civil War, Marcus McFly realized that the tragedy of the main characters were leading to Rogers eventually retiring from being a hero and started with a sacrifice of his life to save the world. Since around October 2015, the pair ended with the death of Stark. The filmmakers been incredible, iconic, and amazing send off to Stark in the same vein of Wolverine and Logan, of Hugh Jackman's character Logan Wolverine, who dies at the end of that movie. Josh Brolin posing with the Infinity Gauntlet in 2014. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. signed on for Tony Stark for a third Avengers film, and Josh Brolin signed a promotional deal to deal with the filming May to play Thanos. Yeah, Jeremy Renner was stated that he was signed to reprise the role. And of course, Chris Hemsworth came back as Thor, Mark Ruffalo came back as Hulk, Chris Evans came back as Steve Rogers, Captain America, Scarlett Johansson came back as Black Widow. Yeah. Sean Gunn, who was actually James Gunn's brother, served on the set and stand for actor Rocket on both films. Vin Diesel was the voice of Groot, Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket. Pom Clinton responding her role as Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Karen Gillan from the first two movies, and David Bautista as Drax. There's always Londa, so. Benedict Cumberbatch did come back as Stephen Strange. And Gwen Foster does come back as Pepper Potts, but just in one scene in the movie. And William Hurt coming back as Ross, first appeared in The Incredible Hulk and Captain America Civil War as well. Samuel Jackson, Kobe Smulders, they were in a post-credit scene, coming back as the characters Nick Fury and Maria Hill. Michael Rooker, who played Yondu, he visited the Georgia filming on set for some days while wearing the Infinity War protection cap. But it later turned out that he was present there to throw off spoilers that Yondu would die in Volume 2. Stellan Skarsgård, who appeared as Eric Silver in the first and Thor and Thor: The Dark World, was supposed to come back, but it never happened. Peter Dinklage came in the film too. Yeah. All right. Marvel Studios announced a two-part sequel to Avengers: Age of Ultron. Yeah. I don't know if there was issues with Josh Whedon. Well, I've heard he has some harassment allegations against him, so I guess they didn't want him back. Or maybe he was just too busy directing Justice League at the time. Because Zack Snyder had a personal thing he had to deal with. He got fired, so Josh Whedon was probably too busy. Anthony Russo was inspired that it was inspired by the 1990s heist films, with Thanos and smash and grab to acquire all the Infinity Stones. Photography began filming on January 23rd, 2017, at Pinewood Studios in County, Georgia. Some of this movie was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia. Infinity War, along with Avengers Endgame, was shot using IMAX 2 cameras. In late June 27, filming occurred in downtown Atlanta, as well as Atlanta Central Park in early July, before moving to Queens, New York in the middle of the month. Filming concluded in July 14, 2017, but the film's final scene, Thanos settles in a hut. The filmmakers worked. Joe Russo said there were a couple of independent scenes for Infinity War. I mean, if you've seen the Marvel films, starting with Iron Man, you gotta know that they've been planning this the whole time. If you've seen the end of the Avengers, the post-credit scenes of Avengers: Age of Ultron, and if you've seen the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, you know Thanos is coming. Hmm. It is not one of the most expensive films ever made, but Evans and him were both Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth. They got $15 million for coming back in the film. Alan Silvestri came back to do the music score for the film, which made sense. He did the score for the first movie, but not the second movie. That was Danny Elfman, I believe. Yeah, I just remember not too much marketing, but I do remember the trailers. Uh, Game spots like Super Bowl probably had trailers for the movie. There were toys throughout the movie. The Infinity Gauntlet they probably had as a toy. Yeah, Josh Brolin, for his performance as Thanos, he was praised by many critics. Yeah. And of course, you had the 2019 sequel, Avengers Endgame. So it's a part two. It's not like an episode of a show where part one, something bad happens, really bad happens, but part two, or the bad guy wins, and in part two, the good guy saves the day. And yeah, it's kind of like that. Just see it that way. But for the cast, you have Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Tony Stark Iron Man, the benefactor of the Avengers, who is a self-described genius billionaire playboy, and Robert Downey Jr. He's been in movies like, well, he turned 60 this he turned 60 years old a couple, I think, last week. Yeah, but Robert, he's been doing movies since like the '80s, like in Back to School, quite a bit. Ever since I think he was a little boy, he's been doing movies. But he was in Iron Man and Iron Man 2008, and of course Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and the Incredible Hulk. He made a cameo appearance when they were building up the Avengers in Civil War, and of course Spider-Man: Homecoming, and responding his role here. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, an Avenger and the King of Asgard, and this takes place after the events of Thor Ragnarok. But Chris Hemsworth, 12 strong, but he's been doing Thor since the first film, 2011 Thor and the Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. And of course had a cameo appearance in Doctor Strange, post credit scene. And Mark Ruffalo comes back as Bruce Banner Hulk. Yeah, I'm not gonna go through the list of these folks' movies. This is a big cast, but Mark Ruffalo has been some movies like Just Like Heaven, Reach for the Spoon, 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Gardner. Uh, he was in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless of the Mind with Jim Carrey. But Mark Ruffalo, he's been playing the character since the Avengers 2012, taking over the role from Edward Norton. He was in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Thor: Ragnarok, and now in this movie. An Avenger gene scientist, because of the exposure to gamma radiation, transformed into a monster when enraged or agitated. Chris Evans is Steve Rogers, Captain America. Chris Evans, again, he's been working with Marvel before. He had a cameo in Deadpool Wolverine, by the way, for those who've seen it. But the first Marvel coming back is his character Johnny Storm, and Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, who he played in 2005 in the sequel Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer. So he's worked with Marvel way before this, and other films of Marvel include not another teen movie. I think he was in that. It was a comedy. I think he did a movie with Scarlett Johansson, but I'm not going to look it up now. But he also did a movie called Cellular, which I'm definitely planning to do a review of that. Eventually sometime on this channel. But that's a good movie. And of course, Captain America: The First Avenger was 2011, first time playing the character. The Avengers, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, uh, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Captain America: Civil War, and now this. Scarlett Johansson comes back as Natasha Romanoff, Black Widow. First appearance, Scarlett Johansson, Smarter Square Pants movie. She voiced Princess Mindy, I believe. And she was in a movie called Eight-Legged Freaks, Home Alone 3. I don't blame her in that one. She was just a bit young at the time. But Scarlett Johansson, she's been playing this character since Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Captain America: Civil War. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Stephen Strange, playing the character in Doctor Strange 2016. Um, and now here, and of course, he did respire the role in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. And Don Cheadle as James Rhodey, War Machine. Of course, Black Widow was a highly trained spy member of Rogers of Avengers and former agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Doctor Strange, he's a former neurosurgeon who, after a car accident, led to a journey of healing in the hidden world of magic and dimensions, became the master of the mystic arts. Uh, Don Cheadle's been playing the character, took over from Terrence Howard since Iron Man 2. Not the first Iron Man, that was Terrence Howard who played the character first. But I guess he had an issue with Marvel, so he came in to play the character. Yeah, in Iron Man 2. Uh, no, not he wasn't in the Avengers, but he was in Avengers: Age of Ultron and Captain America: Civil War. Now coming back and here's the character. And Tom Holland as Peter Parker, Spider-Man. Of course, Rhodey is a officer in the U.S. Force, and he's an Avenger who operates the War Machine owner. Uh, Peter Parker, of course, is a teenager and Avenger. In Star's project, he receives spider-like abilities that are being bit by a radioactive spider. Oh, Downey helped coach Holland through his destiny, which is not drawn out in the script. Wow. But anyway, Tom Holland's been playing the character since Captain America: Civil War, and of course had his own movie Spider-Man: Homecoming. Will respire the role in two other movies. That'd be Spider-Man: Far From Home, after the events of Avengers Endgame, and Spider-Man: No Way Home. That Spider-Man: Far From Home, Spider-Man: No Way Home, and I believe he's planning on making another Spider-Man movie. But and the late Chadwick Boseman is King T'Challa, Black Panther, King of African nation of Wakanda, who's gained his abilities by the R-shaped orb that gives him super strength and super abilities, and his suit is made of vibranium. And of course, Chadwick Boseman first played the character in Captain America: Civil War. Black Panther that came out the same year. That was in February, at least a month before this film came out. And I think Chadwick was sadly sick at the time, but probably didn't talk about it and tell anybody about it, but he was, I believe. Yeah, and Paul Bettany as Vision is finding the role from. Well, he voiced for Jarvis though. He has the Mind Stone in him, which Thanos needs. He's an android adventure created using the it's Jarvis, who's been Paul Bettany's voiced Jarvis since Iron Man. When he became Vision, was Avengers of Ultron, Captain America: Civil War, and now in here, and I think in uh the One Division show, yeah, he's in that. Elizabeth Olsen goes back as one of Max off member of Archer's Avengers who can harness magic and engage in hypnosis and telekinesis. She's played the character since Avengers: Age of Ultron. Uh, sorry, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Captain America: Civil War, and of course, was part of the role in the One Division show and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Anthony Mackie is Sam Wilson, Falcon, a member of the Rogers faction Avengers, and former parachute trained by the. He's at combat using a suit that has a wing pack so he can fly with it. Anthony Mackie, he's been playing the character since Captain America: Winter Soldier, Avengers: Age of Ultron, uh, Captain America: Civil War, and now this movie, and we'll go on to, of course, being Captain America 4: Brave New World, which came out in February this year. Yeah, and he did play the role in the Winter Soldier and Falcon. Yeah, Sebastian Stan come back as Bucky Barnes, one soldier, a soldier and Roger's ally, best friend who redeemed remarks as a brainwashed assassin known as the Winter Soldier after being thought to have been killed in action in World War II. He's given the name White Wolf by the people of Wakanda. After the events of Civil War, uh, Bucky, of course, was in Captain America: The First Avenger, come back in the Winter Soldier, Captain America: Winter Soldier, as coming back to he was alive the whole time. If you've seen Winter Soldier, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think he has a small part from what I heard in. I think he had like a small cameo in Captain America: Brave New World. Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Those that are brother, Norse got mythology. There's been, Thor 2011 was his first appearance. Thor, the Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and this movie. Idris Elba as Heimdall. The other thing I'm hearing regarding the Bifrost. Idris Elba's been playing the character since Thor 2011 and Thor: The Dark World and Thor Ragnarok. And Avengers: Age of Ultron, he was in that too. Peter Dinklage, he's King of the Dwarfs and Weaponsmith, who created Thor's hammer. But Peter Dinklage, been quite a bit of movies. Again, I don't really have time to look at all, folks, but Elf, I believe he was an elf. And he voiced the Mighty Eagle in Angry Birds movie 1 and 2. And Benedict Wong is Wong, a master of the mystic arts, who first appeared in Doctor Strange and would be in the sequel to Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness and Avengers Endgame, I believe. Palm Klitimoff as Mantis, a member of the Guardians with empathic powers. Her first time being in the movie was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And of course, would be in Avengers Endgame, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Christmas special, Holiday special, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah. And Karen Gillan as Nebula, daughter of Thanos. Nebula's been, since Guardians of the Galaxy, the first Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And she's in Endgame and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as well. Dave Bautista as Drax Destroyer. Remember the Guardians and the Warrior search for vengeance against Thanos for killing his family. At the end of each day of filming, Batista would have to sit in a sauna to remove his makeup. Batista's been playing the character since 2014 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and got 3 and Avengers Endgame, of course. So does Yolanda as Gamora, member of the Guardians who is an orphan, in the world, and raised by Thanos, seeking redemption for her past crimes. Yeah, she's been in these movies since the first Avengers. I mean, not the first Avengers, first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, this movie, Avengers Endgame, which I don't like what they do there, but I'll get to that later, and Guardians 3. And Vin Diesel is Groot. He's a tree-like humanoid. Vin Diesel's been voicing Groot since first Guardians of the Galaxy, the first 2014, Volume 2, and Guardians 3. Bradley Cooper comes back as Rocket, and one of the Guardians, who's an injured raccoon-based bounty hunter mercenary and master of weapons and battle tactics. Sean Gunn was again the stand-in for Rocket during filming, while with his acting expression serving as the motion rose for the character, but Bradley Cooper did the voice. Uh, he's been playing the character since Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, Volume 2, and Volume 3 in the Christmas special, I believe. Yeah. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts, Stark's fiance, and Gwyneth Paltrow has been with this franchise as Pepper Potts since the beginning, since Iron Man 2008, Iron Man 2, The Avengers, Iron Man 3. Yeah. Benedict Del Toro as the Collector, one of the elders of the universe who is an obsessive keeper of largest of things. Yeah. Benedict Del Toro, James Bond, he was in License to Kill, The Hunted with Tommy Lee Jones, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And Josh Brolin as Thanos. Josh Brolin, you talking well, for DC, he was in Jonah Hex, and Jonah Hex was awful. He's in Men in Black 3 as the young Agent K. The Goonies. I can't believe he came so far from doing The Goonies to doing this. But Brolin's a great actor. I hate Jonah Hex, so I don't dislike him in it. But he was also in Deadpool 2 as Cable. That came out in May, a month after this. So I bet Josh Brolin was a busy person, busy man that year. Thanos is a warlord from Titan who seeks all, if I can talk, 6 Infinity Stones to destroy half of all life, half the universe. McFly, the writer of the film, says it's his journey, his hero's journey. Borland likened Thanos as Quasimodo, as he was somewhat born deformed and considered a freak on Titan. Brolin even said that he preferred playing Thanos over Cable in Deadpool 2, but I like him as both characters, but that's just me. Why, Cable is an assassin who can time travel. Thanos is a mad titan, a mad warlord, a prophet. He's a madman. Brolin also performed motion capture on set so they can just get the look of his face. Yeah. Daniel Rick Daniel Rick from Black Panther, she comes back as Loki. And Lydia Wright comes back as T'Challa's sister Shuri. And she would be in Avengers Endgame as well, and in getting Black Panther Wakanda Forever after Chadwick's death, becoming the lead in that film. Yeah. And Winston Duke is Mabuk, the leader of Wakanda's mountain tribe, who respiring his role from Black Panther 2018, and did respire the role again in Black Panther. I think he's also said he was going to be in Avengers Doomsday, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Samuel Jackson, Kobe Smulders, like I said, to make their regular appearances. Red Skull does come back as the Stonekeeper, but I don't think he's played by Hugo Weaving. Maybe Weaving just didn't want to do it. And Stan Lee, Avengers co-creator Stan Lee, makes a cameo appearance in the film as Parker's school bus driver. Yeah. But like I said, a big cast in the movie. All right, and the film is directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, who have directed like You, Me, and Dupree. I love that movie with Matt Dillon, Kate Hudson, and Owen Wilson. That's a funny movie. Captain America: Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War, Infinity War Endgame, 21 Bridges. I guess working with Chadwick Boseman again. I need to see that movie. And Avengers: Doomsday. Oh, they're directing that. Okay. It's screenplays by Christopher Mark and Steve McFly. McFly, not McFly. Sorry, but they've been writing movies since. Well, let's see. The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the Chronicles of Narnia movies, and Captain America: The First Avenger, Pain and Gain, Thor: The Dark World, Winter Soldier: Civil War, this movie, Avengers Endgame, and they're going to be writing also the script for Avengers Doomsday, based on Avengers script by late Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Produced by Kevin Feige, who's been producing this movie since the first Iron Man movie. But he's also been a production assistant, associate producer, executive producer on some other Marvel movies. Well, not Marvel movies. Volcano, that stars Tommy Lee Jones. That's a disaster film, not a superhero movie. You've got male romantic comedy, romance film. with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, and associate producer on X Men, Spider Man, Daredevil. Talking about Sam Raimi Spider Man and X Men. Talking about the first one in 2000, directed by Bryan Singer. Hulk, directed by Alan Lee. Punisher, Spider Man 2, Elektra. X Men Last Stand, Next Avengers Here Tomorrow. Thor Tales of Asgard, Hulk versus the animated ones, Next Avengers Here Tomorrow, and The Amazing Spider Man. Oh, he's been the president of Marvel Studios and the producer of the MCU films since 2007. Wow. He probably started out small in his career, but thankfully these movies made him big. Trent Obluch does the cinematography of the film. I'm sorry if I can't say the name right. But he's worked on movies like District 9, Winter Soldier, Chappie, and this one and Avengers Endgame. And these films were shot back to back, so they're filming both movies. And of course, they had the budget. This wasn't like the time when Superman the movie, Superman 2, running out of money. No, because they had plenty of money because the studio was going to take that risk because the MC movie, Marvel movie had big. They're the 19th film now, so they know they're going to have a hit. They knew it, and they knew that they have the money to shoot two movies from back to back, which I thought was a real smart idea to do. Edited by Jeffrey Ford and Matthew Schmidt. Jeffrey Ford, he's worked on edited the film 1 Hour Photo, but that was starred late Robin Williams. Matthew Schmidt, The 13th Warrior, A Perfect Murder, The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, Collateral Damage, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Daredevil, I, Robot, that he's edited, Iron Man 3, Winter Soldier, Age of Ultron, Civil War, Fate of the Furious, Avengers Infinity War Endgame, Black Widow, Thor Love and Thunder, and Captain America Brave New World. Music by Alan Silvestri, who's done music score for like Back to the Future, Love Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Forrest Gump, Life Beneath, Castaway, The Polar Express, Flight from 2012, and The Abyss, Father of the Bride, The Parent Trap, the 1998 remake starring Lindsay Lohan, Eraser starring Arnold Stuart Little, The Mummy Returns, Lilo and Stitch, Night at the Museum trilogy, and Ready Player One, and G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, and The A-Team from 2010. So yeah, but he's always been one of my favorite composers. I think he's one of the greatest, one of the best composers out there, in my opinion, along with the, you know, just the name to me that is John Williams, and Danny Elfman. Yeah, production companies Marvel Studios, distributed by Walt Disney Studios, Motion Pictures. It was released April 27th, 2018 here in the U.S. It's 149 minutes long. The movie is 2 hours and 29 minutes, including the post-credit scene and the end credits. Yes, there is a post-credit scene. Being a Marvel movie, it is. The budget was estimated to be around 325 to $104 million. Box office made $252 billion worldwide. So it was a hit. Yeah. The film is praised for Bones' performance and the Russo's brother direction, as well as the visual effects, action sequences, dark tone, and music score. And it is the first superhero movie ever to gross over $2 billion, breaking numerous box office records, and becoming the highest grossing film of 2018, fourth highest grossing film of all time. Yeah. Why did this movie become successful? Because Marvel, they gave us good characters, good stories. That's why the MCU happened, because they took time with movies. This took a lot of time to get to this end game, but they made it. That's why it works. All right. Now, with the story of the movie, there will be spoilers in this review. So if you've never seen Avengers: Infinity War, warning, there are spoilers. If you've never seen any of this movie, don't watch this review. I'm gonna review Avengers Endgame, not next, but that didn't come out for 2019, so I'm gonna review them separately. I'm not reviewing two movies together. Heck no. But the story of the movie is that Iron Man, Thor, and the Hulk, and the rest of the Avengers, that includes Captain America, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch. I mean, it's got Wanda Maximoff, Vision, and War Machine, and Falcon, and Spider Man. well, who joins the Avengers, along with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange. They all have to team up. They're up against the most powerful enemy yet. That is Thanos. Thanos, who was on a mission to collect all 6 Infinity Stones. Now, sorry, something popped up. Now, yeah, and these are the Infinity Stones, that 6 of them that he's looking for. That is the, let's see, that he's looking for is the Soul Stone, Space Stone, Time Stone, Reality Stone. Okay, like I said, Space Stone, Mind Stone, Reality Stone, Power Stone, Time Stone, Soul Stone. And I think that's it, yep. The Infinity Stones, their reputation of all necessary aspects of existence. They have control over the fabric of reality that represent and form it of the universe. And Thanos wants to seek it out. Okay. Because Thanos, this is Thanos here. He was a great villain, by the way. He's better than, definitely, the way Oscar Isaac was as Apocalypse. Thanos doesn't have to loud and get talk and scream. He doesn't have to yell like really loud. No. But Thanos believes it's his mission. I'll get to that, but he's a complex character. But he is a villain, though, of course. He's on a mission to collect all those stones I mentioned. Thanos plans to use the artifacts, the stones, to inflict his twisted will on reality. That when he gets the 6 stones, when he snaps his fingers, he can wipe out trillions of lives around the universe. And that the fate of the planet's existence itself has never been more uncertain, as everything the Avengers have fought have led up to this moment. So they have to take on Thanos, who is a very powerful threat, probably the greatest threat they've ever faced. Thanos. So they have to, along with Team of the Guardians of the Galaxy, they must have to. And this is a hard fight because after this takes place at the midst of Civil War, and the Avengers are divided. The Avengers broke up, so which makes the fight a little more difficult for them. Yeah. So that's involved. Where she closes this damn door. Oh, okay. Sorry. Now I'm going to talk about the movie itself. Maybe read some quotes from it. To be a bit of a long review, so just stick in there. Maybe read some good quotes from me. And like I said, there are spoilers. So if you've never seen Infinity War, do yourself a favor, turn this video off because I don't want you spoiling for yourself. This is my last time saying it. There'll be spoilers, and there's going to be in the description box below. So I'm warning you. You've been warned. So I don't hear anybody getting angry and say, "Why did you spoil it?" I know the movie's been around for a while, but I don't know. Maybe not everybody in the world has seen this movie though, and I don't want to spoil it for you either. But I did give you the plot synopsis. Yeah. So the movie pretty much takes place after Thor Ragnarok. When you saw the post-credit scenes of that, when you see the statesman attacked by the Sanctuary 2, that after the Asgardians, along with Thor and Loki and his allies, been attacked. So the flagship of Thanos, having the Pagers have been killed by the Black Order, that are the children of Thanos. That is even more. Prime Primax Midnight, Robert's Club, Weston. I can't say the name right. But one of them, even more, announces that their survivor should replace, should feel rejoice. He's like, thank God, you have been killed by the children of Thanos. Rejoice in your ways. Rejoice. Kind of like Ibn Amal is a prophet. Yeah. And Thanos comes to speak. He's like, I know what it's like to lose. And you know, he's just kind of like dragging Thor. And Loki just watching. And Heimdall just, hurt. And basically all the, half the men and women and children are dead that Thanos is murdered. We don't see it because it's probably too dark. But like I said, this film does go in that dark direction. And then you see Thanos in his armor saying, I know what it's like to lose. I know what it's like to lose a lot of things. And he's like, I am here now with his Infinity Gauntlet. And Thanos saying, I am here. And Thor's like, you talk too much. Yeah, Loki's brought with Thanos himself, and he's like, I want that the Tesseract, this, the stone that he's looking for. He has the Power Stone, so he needs the one stone from the Tesseract. And Thor's like, it was destroyed on Asgard, you'll never get it. But Loki is like, oh, you tricks, brother. Because if you remember when Thor was fighting Elena and they were fighting Elena's army, Helga's army, his sister's army, played by Kate Blanchett, Loki grabbed it. Loki shows him it. He's like, so I, Loki, son of Odin, brother of Thor, king of Jotunheim, have brought this to you. He gives it to him. And he's like, but we do have a Hulk. And, that's cool to see that the Hulk fights him a bit. Yeah, but we don't get much of Hulk in this movie, to be honest. We do see Hulk punch Thanos a bit, and one of the children of Thanos will attack it. Even if, I'm just gonna call him Maul. Maul. I can't say his name right. It says, let him have his fun. And eventually he even punches Hulk in the throat, and I was like, oh. And he takes Hulk down like that. Now, Thanos is power enough to take down Hulk, and Hulk is the strongest of the Avengers. We'll take him down, and Hulk just passed out. I was like, that was a bit of a shock to see in theaters, and take Hulk down like that. Just like nothing. I think I realize Thanos is huge too himself. He's very bulky, and he's a fighter too. You know, yeah. Thanos demands. Then after that, after knocking Hulk out, he demands that he's gonna hurt Thor. Then he's just trying to like to his head. He's like, enough, and he gives him the stone, and he blows the Power Stone and puts it in the Infinity Stone. Now, and he's like, now we have to go to Earth to get my children, prepare my children. I want you to find the two more stones for me. And Thor, well, so he's got two, so he just needs about four more of them. But and Loki tries to say something like, "Well, I kind of live on Earth. I can help you there." He's like, "Unless you want to, I expect failure from you. Well, you gotta expect something, don't you? Expectation of that. And Loki tries to attack him, but he uses the stone because Thor sees what he's doing. Because Thor's like, "You're gonna get paid for that," because Heimdall was able to use his powers, the Sea All, to transport Bruce the Hulk back to Earth. Uh, he goes back to Earth. And spoiler, ages up his character, Heimdall gets killed and stabbed, and Thor's like, "You can kill without," and Maul shuts him up. I was like, shh. And eventually, he sees what Loki's doing in time, uses the stone, and Thanos picks him up, choking Loki to death, and Loki says, You will never be a god. And he's like, hmm. Just smirks at that remark, and then just breaks his neck and kills Loki. And now let's go, my children. He uses the power stone to like teleport him to places, I guess, that stone can, and teleports them out of there. The ship blows up. Thor doesn't die miraculously, but it does blow up. He just passed out in space. And he mourns over his body as he dies. But meanwhile, you get back on Earth. You have Doctor Strange and Wong. We're talking about like buying some food or something like that. But then all of a sudden, comes landing in the door, smashing through. Hulk crashes in the New York Sanctum by the Bifrost, and he says, Thanos is coming," because he's trying to transform back into Banner. And just Thanos is coming, and Strange is like, "Who?" And then you get the over the title Avengers: Infinity War. Uh, we see Tony kind of retired after. Well, he still fights sometimes as Iron Man, but the Avengers are broken up. He still, see him and Pepper. That was nice to see Pepper Potts to see Ben Foster again. They're talking about having a baby. He's like, "Well, you know me so well. You know my sentences. Maybe that he might have to retire as a superhero." But then all of a sudden, Doctor Strange comes in, opening a portal, says, "Tony Stark, I need to talk to you." Oh, and congratulations on the wedding, by the way. And says, "First of all, who's he talking? I don't know you." But then all of a sudden, you see Hulk. I mean, Bruce. You see Banner. It's like, "Hey, Tony." You know. So they bring him to the Strange Room as well. Strange, Wong, and Banner start discussing the Infinity Stones, and that, of course, Doctor Strange has a Time Stone, and the Amato. I can't say it right, but it's like a necklace he has, and that it's the Mind Stone, and the stones control the universe of time. That he's like Tony. He was the one that brought Loki, Ultron. Thanos has been behind everything. He's a big threat that we got to put up with. He's like he's like, well, the Avengers broke up. He tells him after the events of Civil War what happened. He's like, it doesn't matter who you're talking to right now. You just need to get Steve Rogers a call, give Cap a call. And they realize that Thanos is coming. Yeah, and I like the moment where, oh, like he puts his hand on a boss or whatever, and then Strange is like, his hand's like, I'm going to allow that. And they, both have them one. They both a bit of they're both a wise ass. And when you have two people that are wise ass against each other, they must argue up first. Banner does say that Thanos is the most powerful that they've ever faced. He will wipe out that Thanos must wipe out the universe if he completes the Infinity Gauntlet. Stark says that they should destroy the Time Stone, but Strange refuses, as he won't pledge to protect it with their lives and to, fight any threat, mystical threat that come against it. That's the thing to talk about Vision, because Vision has an Infinity Stone in his head. He's like, Vision, I can't be killed him. He's vehicle unfollow. We can't find him. He's just become more like human, so can't find him anymore. We don't know where he's at. He did prepare for the make it. Tony's prepared to make the call, but it doesn't happen before they make the call though. An ominous ring through the air. It's like a ship that comes, you know, and you know, before anything can happen, Strange is able to use his mystical arts and keep it from the plane. And Tony's like, and he's like, his Strange's like, yeah, I got this. Then he put this new suit on, a massive ring Q ship of New York City. He shuts it down as Maul and Cole, as one of the children that like big enough to be like the Hulk, and he's like, "All right, Banner, I need you to turn to the Hulk." I'm like, "Come on, dude, you embarrass me in front of the wizards." It's not working. I guess you could say people say that maybe Hulk got so scared of Thanos, so that's why. Wong and Banner confront the invaders. Then the Q ship is seen by Peter Parker because his Spidey sense goes off, and but with that though, his Spidey sense he tells Ned he's like Ned, I need you to create a distraction. So Ned does. It was like, oh, bro, look at the big screen. And Stanley, has a cameo saying, "What's the matter with you? You never seen a spaceship before?" And of course, he sneaks off the bus, put the Spider-Man mask off, left things away. Yeah, and they say, "We don't want to threaten you, but we want the Infinity Stone that Strange has." It's like, well, you ain't getting it, Squidward. Yeah, yeah. But Iron Man fights him. But he's got like these new nanotechs for an Iron Man set, which is really cool. He can build like rockets out of it or certain weapons out of it, which is really cool. How they changed the Iron Man suit over time. But the suit is like real cool here, and Iron Man is fighting them. So it's Doctor Strange. Wong, they fought the big guy, and they have to get Banner out of the way. Banner's like, "Come on, Hulk, come on, Hulk." Oh, what do you mean? No, come on, Hulk. We need to work things out. And Spider-Man shows up because Iron Man's fighting the big guy. Why? Even though Maul is fighting Strange, Maul like, puts Strange on strings or whatever. Tries to grab the necklace of the Mind Stone, but it like burns his fingers. He's like, "You're coming with me." And Spidey shows up, fights him. Eventually, Wong is able to set the other big guy, call or whatever, to another. Yeah, they trap him in the Arctic. He tries to grab out that portal, but the portal closes. His hand falls off. And Bear's like, "Ew." Spidey swings to help Iron Man to try to save Doctor Strange, but it doesn't work. But eventually, Iron Man is able to get on the ship, and he tells Spider-Man to go home. Well, because he's flying, because he fixed the air problem of his suit. But Spidey takes his mask off. He takes his mask off. Like, "Oh, I'm about to pass out." And this is where he gets the new suit, which is cool. But Stark just tells him to go home. I'm like, "Why, Stark? You need the help while you can get." You know. But Stark goes in there. And then Cole from Pepper's like, "Tony, where you at?" "I'm on this ship, honey. I won't be here for a while. I'm sorry." And he just kind of sneak around. And Spidey, who is at the end of the ship, is able to sneak on by web slinging to the ship, of course. You know, his Iron Spider suit, which is cool. And then this thing we see his Thor is rescued by the Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, you have them, the opening song with them, the Spinners song going on, Rubber Band Man, and even Gamora singing it. And he's like, "Jack, sing it." He's like, "Let's put our ugly faces on." He's like, "Why are we gonna save the people?" Because some people might be in danger, and plus they might give us some dough, some money, which we don't really need. Star says it was cool to see Guardians of the Galaxy. They introduced them in here. Well, their first scene in the movie. Let's put our me face and Mantis, which I thought was hilarious. And they see what happened to the people of Asgard. They see Thor, and Thor lands on the ship with his eye open. And Mantis can sense what, being an empath, she can sense what he's feeling. He's like, well, and Gamora like grabs his muscles, like, "Stop massaging his muscles." And she's able to get him, and she's like, "Wake." And Thor's like, "Who the hell are you guys?" Tell them who they are. They talk about Thanos, and Gamora knows what Thanos could do. And it's like, if he snaps his finger, he can wipe half the universe like that. We gotta stop him. But Thor saying that he needs a new hammer. because he intends on killing Thanos as a revenge for killing his brother Hamdo and his people of Asgardian. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, he got the Space Stone. Well, he's got the Space Stone and the Power Stone. Gamora says that he's killed half the population before. That Thanos is a tyrant. Well, prophet or he's himself one. He's got a god complex basically. He wipes out trillions of lives on universes by just snapping his finger. So they know Thanos' head is going to go to the reality, get the reality stone. That if you remember in Avengers, I mean not Avengers, Guardians, the collector who they gave it to, he sends to ask Peter Dinklage's character Itrich to craft a new weapon capable of defeating Thanos. So Thor leaves with Rocket and Groot. Well, meanwhile, Star Lord, Gamora, Drax, Mantis depart for nowhere. And then you see Vision and Wanda. This takes place events again after Captain America Civil War. Uh, they're in Scotland, just being together. They're in a relationship now, and talking about what they're gonna do. He's able to get into a human form. Like how Vision is able to make himself look like a human because he can't go around looking the way he does without creeping people out around the world. How about their relationship? And then they see him to what's happening on TV in New York, and he's like, "It's what the Stones are warning me about." And before he can decide to take off, one of the Corvus Globe, Corvus and Midnight. I'm gonna call that one Midnight. Well, Criminal like stabs Vision, doesn't kill Vision, but they fight them off. Vision gets deeply weakened in the attack, but then you have Falcon and Winter Soldier Rogers, who I think by this time, I think in the comics, well, I don't know if in the comics, but after being done being Captain America, he just calls himself Norm now. But of course, as you can see, Cap has a beard now. He still fights though, but he's basically on the run again after what happened to Civil War because he can be arrested. They were contacted, of course, by Banner because Bruce gave him a call after after Wong took off after Doctor Strange and Spidey and Iron Man went up into space. Banner gave him a call. They forced Midnight and heavily wounded. She tries to throw the weapon at Rogers and Rogers grabbed it, which was an awesome moment to see him again. Yeah, and they're gonna go to the Avengers compound. Excuse me. And you see Gamora's childhood, as in her world, Thanos showed half her people in the process, and you see as her child, you see Thanos wearing his armor. Yeah, wearing his armor. Tells her, "Here, child." You know, he's like, "Child, little one, how are you doing?" He goes, "That's why he calls her little one sometimes." That's when he meets Gamora. He's like, "Look at this knife. It's perfectly balanced, just like the universe." And his children are going to kill all these people off. He's like, "No, no, looky here." Shows her, yeah. And this how then he takes her in as his own daughter to raise her in. That's how Gamora became this badass assassin. Because Thanos trained her to be. And being sisters Nebula. Nebula. Before she met the Guardians, of course. And deep down, she does hate Thanos because of that. And he's like, "Hey, Gamora, have you seen something I need or whatever?" Starts joking around, and she shuts his mouth. She's like, she tells him that, "Look, I know something." She knows about. She can't tell him, but it's the soul. She knows what the soul stone is. She didn't tell Quill that. She doesn't want to let him know that. You know, and he makes her promise that he will he makes a promise that he'll kill her if she's captured by Thanos. Goes reluctant, but Goro makes a promise and swear his mother, and they eventually agree. And the two share a kiss for the first time. So because it's the moment where they both fall in love. They've fallen for each other since they first met. You know, it's like it's about time. And then as they're doing that, though, Drax is like eating chips, watching. He's like, I'm quietly just mastering why nobody knows I'm right here, silently. He's like, it's not working, dude. Like, really, it's not working. And he's eating the chips, and then Mantis, hi Drax, and Drax like, crap. It blows away. Then the Guardians they arrive on the desert nowhere where they've been before. They've been to nowhere of nowhere before. They witness as Thanos interrogating the collector, but the reality center. Eventually, they make too much noise because, well, as Drax, who has been wanting revenge for his family's death, first running, but like he told Gamora, it was Thanos, and he gets his knives out of his the armor in his legs that he carries. He's like, for my daughter, you get revenge on this day, which is out of the way. But they make too much noise. Thanos sees them, is able to hear them. Gamora jumps up and stabs him, and you see that she's killing him, but it's a fake reality. However, they discover that Thanos has already acquired the reality stone, as Collector's already dead, and these fake reality versions of his like waving. Thanos is already burned it. He's expected her to come. He's like, alright, I expected you to. She's the only person who knows the location of the Soul Stone, so he easily seduces Gamora when she tries to stab him. And he subdues, because again, Drax is like, Thanos, you killed my family, and tries to attack him, and Thanos, with the reality stone, is like, you know, and then same thing with Mantis. Kind of like he's able to make, like, to turn them into shapes with their bodies, if you will. But good special effects, and he's got a gun pointing at him. He's like, you better shoot me. He's like, no, I can't do it no more, please. He's like, you promised, you promised. And she's crying, you promised. She's like, she made you promise, and Thanos is like, do it, do it. You know, the boyfriend, and he won't kill you. And she's like, the Gamora says to Peter, says to Stroller, I love you. And he's like, I love you too. And that was a sad moment there. But he's about to shoot her, but it's just bubbles that comes out of it as Thanos is able to reboot change the stone of reality with the reality stone. Then he teleports with Gamora away, and stressing Peter out now that he's gonna go try to track them down, find out where they're at. Back at the facility, you have James Rhodes, Steve. I mean, that's Don Cheadle, who of course you say that he's has his legs injured after Vision accidentally hit him after Captain America Civil War, discussing with Thaddeus Ross, played by William Hurt, the late William Hurt, outraged at Vision's recent disappearance. He's like, well, that you made him criminals, you know, and he now regrets signing. But Rogers, Wilson, Romanoff, and Vision and Maxwell arrive. Ross demands that they all be arrested. He's like, he's like, you think you can just walk in here and all says done and forgiven? No. And he's like, arrest all of them. But he ended his transmission. He's like, I'm sure that's a court martial there. And he's like, how you doing, Steve? They give each other a hug and see how you doing. And Bruce shows up, and now Natasha, Black Widow, who of course is gonna have to have a relationship with Banner, just look at each other deeply. It's like, well, this is awkward. He brings everyone to speed. He suggests calling Hawkeye for help. Bruno shows that he won't stop Lang are unavailable as they took a bargain deal for what they did, get out a person to have be under house arrest, which is why we don't have Ant-Man in here. But we do, of course, get him in the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp. And you won't see Hawkeye until Avengers Endgame. Together, they decided to they talk about Thanos and what he's capable, what he's planning on doing. Maximoff is the only one power to do it, but she doesn't want to do it. She's like, this is not up for discussion because she loves Vision. You know, they've been together for 2 years at least, and she doesn't want to do this to him. But Vision says, hey, you need to kill me. It's the best way. He's like, we don't let people go like that. I was like, well, Captain Rogers. He's like, see, about 70 some years ago, you gave up your life when Red Skull was about to kill billions of people. You threw yourself in the ass. He said, why can't I do the same? It's none other than this. And they won't let him do it. But Steve says, I know a guy, and they're going to go to Wakanda. So they talk to King T'Challa. And T'Challa, you see him in Nokia. They deliver a new burning arm to Bucky. And Bucky, of course, gets new. In case if you remember Captain America Civil War, he's supposed to be arrested too with the crimes of the Winter Soldier. But he's hiding out in Wakanda. They don't know where he is at. And of course, when Iron Man tried to kill him by ripping his arm off, but he gets his arm back. Yeah. And even in my ships, though, Q ship, though, Stark and Parker rescue well, first of all, Iron Man's sneaking around. He's like, he talks to the Doctor Strange's cloth, I mean, cloth, cape, his cape. He's trying to find out what to do, and this Spidey shows up. He's like, you should not be here. He's like, you shouldn't be doing this. He's like, well, there's no neighborhood to protect. I know it sounds corny, but you know what I mean. I need to be here right now. I was like, okay. They talk about aliens. Maul was like, about to get him. Tell him, where is the stone? Let me have the stone. And Strange refuses, so Iron Man shows up, and Iron Man blows up the side of the window, and Maul starts in his face. Strange is about to too, but Spider Man saves him. And I like it when he gets the claws out, or like the spider claws, I call it, which is pretty cool. Hmm. So they set the course for Titan, which is Thanos' home world. You know, him started talking about what they need to do. We can't go back to Earth. We have to stop Thanos. And the two egos about to clash. And he's like, Fish, you douchebag, try to get into it. And Spidey's like, is trying to say something. He's like, Doctor Strange, oh, nice to meet you, Doctor Strange. I'm Peter Parker. Oh, we're using our code names. Well, then Spider Man. He's like, well, kid, you're an Avenger now. But he also tells him, if it becomes in the reality stone, and you don't mind sacrificing Stark himself or Peter Parker, Spider Man, he'll do that. Gamora then tells Thanos she doesn't know the location of the Soul Stone. He tries to give her something to eat, but she doesn't want it. And Thanos, he comes from his world of Titan, the planet Titan, where he was raised there. And in his mind, he thinks wiping half the universe. He thinks killing trillions of people. From Thanos' point of view, it's a good thing. It's a positive thing that he thinks that he's helping out the world. You know, that he's just helping worlds by destroying them and killing billions of people, innocent people. He thinks it's kind of making their world a better place, if you will. So Thanos is trying to play prophet, trying to play God, basically. You know, Jeff Rollins says the character is complex, but I believe he has a God complex, thinking believes it's his destiny to do stuff like this, to have the power to control the universe, just to play God, basically. And he said, she says, well, they were starving, they were going through all this, and I helped them with that. They've seen brighter days. What I did is like, and she's like, you're a madman, you're insane. But Thanos doesn't want to listen to that, and he asks her for his reality stone now, so he takes her to his sister, I mean, to fucking Nebula. Sorry, Nebula. Thanos insists on the righteousness of his ultimate desire is for perfect balance of the universe. He tells her her planet has been thriving since he eradicated half of its population. He is Nebula's prisoner because if you remember Guardians 2, Nebula left. That's when her and Gamora give each other a hug and finally becoming sisters. But she said, "I'm gonna go kill Thanos," and she intends to do that, so she gets captured. He tortures Nebula in front of Gamora, so he uses the stone to because Nebula's basically like a robot. He's able to destroy parts of her, like break parts of her, and she can't see it. He's like, "Now where is the Soul Stone?" Because he's able to find information because he get this recording that Nebula had that's saying that she knew where the map is located, and she's crying. He's like, "Please don't hurt her. Stop. I'll show you where the stone is." You know. But then meanwhile, Thor, Rocket, and Raccoon as they're going to Norville. Thor's talking about his brother, losing his brother. He's like, Thanos is the most powerful universe in the universe, right? The most powerful being in the universe. So, no different than I faced before. I faced plenty of monsters like him, and one of the bastards of him will feel the end of my hammer. And he gives Thor because Thor got Thor got his eye cut out because of instead of cut it out by stabbing it, but gives Thor this eyeball and it works for him. And they see Peter Dinklage, and he says that Thanos ordered him to craft the Infinity Gauntlet that they created for him, and he can't forge anything, so he ripped his arm off. And Peter says, "Well, I thought if I do it, he'd leave us, but he just killed everyone and left and disabled my arm." Ultron, Peter Dinklage's character in the movie, he created Thor's hammer. Now he's gonna make him a new one. They got to create this new weapon for Thor, that a Stormbreaker, a weapon that can summon also the Bifrost. But Nebula is also managed to free herself by tricking the guard or whatever with her eye and punches him out and gets in contact with Mantis, a message to the Guardians. They meet her on Titan. Meanwhile, Stark, Strange, and Parker crash land on the Q ship, and immediately they get ambushed by the Guardians. They fight them a bit. Spider-Man is able to web Mantis. Strange's suit, not suit, but cape, tackles down tackles down Drax, and Iron Man and Thor. Iron Man and not Iron Man, Thor, Iron Man and Star Lord are shooting at each other. And they say, "Where's Gamora at?" And he's got Spider Man. He's like, "Where's Gamora?" He's like, "Okay, who's Gamora? We don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "Tell me I'm gonna blow your friend's head off here. You don't blow your friends off here." He's like, "Go, well, I can take it." And he's like, "Yeah, so who do you serve?" And then Star Lord's like, "What am I supposed to say? Jesus?" I was like, he said, "I'm gonna go through you guys. I'm gonna kill all you three because you're working with Thanos." I was like, "We're not working with Thanos, asshole." You know. But and that they're not only with Thanos, that they agree to work together. Strangely, the time starts looking to alternative futures. They talk about what they're gonna do, and it's so funny to see how Stark, and two smart asses that is also Starlord, who's also a wise ass, banter with each other. He's like, "Okay, that's a great plan, but that sucks. So I think my plan would be better if you listen to me." He then reports to allies that out of the 14,605 five versions of the future they foresee, they only win in one only. Wow. Because, even times when he's oversearched through it. But then Thanos and Magor, they teleport to Vermeer, where they are greeted by Red Skull, who, after, messing with the Infinity Stone, the Tesseract, they sent him there to the Soul Stone. He was banished there in Tesseract 1945. Schmidt tells Thanos that he must sacrifice what he loves in order to return the stone. Gamora is sadly amused as she believes that Thanos does not love anyone or anything, making him capable of completing sacrifice. But despite how Thanos evil is, he does, in his own way love Gamora. And he's like, those tears are not for you. But, she tries to use this knife that he gave her, the knife that tells her about. She tries to stab herself, but it doesn't work because he uses the reality stone to destroy that. And he's like, come here, little one. She's like, no, no, no. And he throws and kills Gamora. And he later awakens in the possession of the and he gets a soul stone, a soul for a soul, you can say. Meanwhile, the Avengers take vision of Wakanda. I liked it when Don Cheadle, when Brody tells Banner he's a king Bell and he does this, and he's like, we don't do that, yo. I was like, yeah. And they ask Sherry, T'Challa's sister, if she can safely extract this mind stone. It'll take some work to do. It'll take time. Maximus orders to stand by the operation table, ready to destroy the stone once it's free. Because Cap tells her to do it. And says, okay, let's go get ready to fight. And he's like, and I loved it when when Chadwick Boseman T'Challa says, and somebody get this man a shield. Volcana has an energy drone. Thor and Rock, yeah. At first they go to talk to them and they say, we don't want to fight you. Walk away now. Surrender. And they refuse. And now they know they ain't ready for it. Mabuka, I can't say his name, leader of the mountain tribe, is coming to fight as well. Yeah, along with Black Panther, Cap, Black Widow, and Bucky are standing there preparing to fight. Thor and Rocket successfully shoot the Star Core. It's like, you're in space, but you know, he has a rocket like shoot the ship this way or whatever. So he's gonna like, and it works. Thor, goes, gets all this injuries to this blast, nearly dies. But Groot is able to make out of his arm. He makes him a hammer. Yeah. But the outsiders, Midnight and Cole, they arrive in Wakanda, and since he can't turn to the Hulk, Banner has to wear the Hulk Buster suit, and he nearly falls. And like you see in the trailer, where Cap and Black Widow and Black Panther, all of them are like running. Yeah, it's effective, but outsiders suddenly invade Wakanda, quickly starting a fierce battle. Thor and Rogue are able to break the ice. Yeah, Groot sacrifices his left arm for the weapons, like I told you before. They're outnumbered though, but they're fighting, and you see Cap fight some people. Norm, if you want to call him that, with his mechanical arms. Yeah, and Black Widow facing off with Provenix Midnight. They're fighting, and they nearly get killed. And Wanda knows she has to get thrown into the fight. She destroy. They got like these giant metal frisbees, whatever you want to call them, to attack them. Hmm. But Thor arrives with the Bifrost. He's like, "I see you got my beard." And he's like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "This is one of my friends." Like, "I am Groot." And Steve says, "I am Steve Rogers." And they're about to fight. As they're in the battle, Thanos does arrive on Titan, created by Strange. He realized that Titan was his home and that overpopulation led it to ruin. And Thanos was a bit of deformed, a bit of kind of a freak, a weirdo, I guess you could say, in Titan. Like, I guess his people, the Titans didn't accept him. That the planet suffers from too much of a population. It's ruined by that. And his suggestion is Thanos tells them, okay, we need to wipe out half billions of people on this planet. We need to kill the other Titans off. He tries to tell people that, but they, of course, they say, Thanos, you're a madman. You're crazy. As Thanos now believes himself to be immersible, as he plans to simply shape his fingers, causing half of the universe's population to increase exist without causing much pain. As he thinks that killing trillions of people will make the world at peace. He believes it's his destiny, you know, that it's his godly destiny to do this in his mind. And he's like, and Strange's like, nope, you're not gonna do this, and prepares to fight, you know. And they all team up on him. Nebula shows up. Spider-Man is able to web him a couple times. Drax does get a good kick there. You know, they put up a good fight, and so does Iron Man. Strange, Parker, and Drax are able to pin him down with his limbs while they're trying to get the Infinity Iron Man and Spidey are trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet off him. And Shana has that, where's the Gamora, you jackass? Where's Gamora at? Because I had to kill her. He's like, you're lying. And tell me she's lying. He's like, he killed her, for the Soul Stone. Yeah. But she does have him unconscious because Mantis touches him with the embrace for the powers. And he's like, yeah. Bull gets enraged at the end, and he attacks the Mantis and he starts punching him and promoting him to get his strength back and gets back in. Thanos, can use the power, like if they throw rocks at him, he can like grab all the pieces of the rocks or a piece of glass because Doctor Strange tried to use his power of mystic arts of glass, but he's able to get his glass and shoot it back at him. Mm. Or he's gonna get like kind of like all these ropes, magic ropes tied up on Thanos, and Thanos is able to use the Infinity Gauntlet. He's very strong. He's able to get it out. Fights with Iron Man. And he's like Stark. I know you because your knowledge, you know, knowledge. He's like my only pain is you or something like that, and they fight. He's close to killing Iron Man. Iron Man's mask is halfway falling off. And he's close to killing Stark. Like Stark, I'm impressed by you. Half of humanity will still be alive after I'm done. And he's about to kill him. But Strange's like, oh, give him the time stone. Thanos agrees and gets, even though now he's going to retrieve the last stone, which is in Vision. But Charlotte tries to like shoot at him, but that doesn't work as Thanos transports himself away to Wakanda. The Black Order launches their Threshies siege weapons. Like I said, Max and Bob joined. Roanoke Nookie, they fight Midnight, but they she's able to use her abilities. Maxwell uses her magic to push her up there and call, Iron Man. I mean, well, not Iron Man, but the whole Buster that Banner has on throws him up there and gets him killed. Black Panther puts up a fight too, though, with some of the people. Yeah, Shuri and her guards they have to fight them off. But like I said, whole Buster fights them off. Then as his children do lose, though, they fell. Oh, they call them Threshers. Okay. Rogers gets defeated as he's trying to fight the guy or whatever, but Vision stabs him, stabs him behind. But Thanos then teleports there. They're like, he's coming. Yeah. And he's like, Wanda, you have to do it. And Wanda prepares to do it. Yeah. And as Thanos is coming, they're all trying to attack him, but he's able to push them away, like Black Panther. He'll push Black Panther away. Or Ukina, he'll use the power of the stones to push them away if they try to come attack. He's trying to, use her powers on his head to take it off. She's crying because she doesn't want to do it. He's like, Wanda, I love you very much. I love you. He's like, I love you too, She bites him off, and she does take the head off. Take the stone out of it. It vanishes, though. However, Thanos uses the power of the Time Stone to reverse time and restores both Vision and Mind Stone. Ripping the stone from Vision's skull, he's able to, you know, he's like, "It's okay, my child. Go ahead and do it." But he uses the Time Stone, pushes her away. Then, picks Vision up, chokes him, and takes the stone, the stone out of his hand. Takes the Mind Stone up, and killing him for good. Then approaches to execute his plan, but Thor arrives, catches Thanos off guard. But well, I do like the moment though where Captain America's like got his big fist, Thanos' fist. He's like pressure, like yelling, and he punches him. I think if he does the same thing, Black Panther just punches him straight up, or just Iron Man, and he stabs him. But right here, he's like, you should have went for the arm, you know, and Thanos snaps his fingers, completing his plan. Thanos is momentarily transported into the Soul World, transports himself there, where he sees a young Murray who asks, "What's the cost of everything?" He's go. Sadly, Thanos admits that it cost him everything. He said, "What did it cost you?" He's like, "Everything." But he's believed that he's completed his mission. Now he's done. Then Thanos turns to the real world with the gauntlet for the energy. Thor fiercely questions Thanos about what he did, but Thanos simply smirks at him. The Wakanda army, they dismantle everybody just disappears because of the snap. They fade away. T'Challa does, Groot, Maximoff, and Wilson, and Doctor Strange does. So does Spidey, and that was assassin. That was if you're gonna do that, don't me die. He cries, but and he fades away. And so does Drax and Mantis and Star Lord. And Iron Man's like, because they just lost, like, because they'll say, we just lost, you know. And so does Wanda. Him and Nebula are the only survivors. Thanos retires on a distant West planet. You just see him, his job is done, and smiling inside, he smiles, believing that he accomplished his mission, that he did. But then the movie ends there. They need a post-credit scene with Nick Fury, where he'll marching in the Battle of Wakanda. They witness the effects of the snap as people around them are dying or fading away. Hill turns to dust in front of him. Fury grabs an old-fashioned pager, prepares to send a signal that is a star pattern with blue and red background. That is Captain Marvel, Brie Larson, who would come to Captain Marvel 2019 though. So, but it's for Captain Marvel, and that's the end of Avengers: Infinity War. I know what it's like to lose, to feel so desperately that you're right, to feel nonetheless. It's frightening, turns to looks jelly, but as you do wet in, straight up run from it. Destination's all the same now. And it's not here, or should I say, I am. I am. That was a mistake. You should use your words more carefully. Reality is often disappointing. That is worse. Now reality can be whatever I want. The universe is finite. It's rewards infinite. If left is unchecked, left will cease to exist. It needs correction. That's what Thanos believes. That the world needs correction. I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one willing to act on it. A small price to pay for salvation. It was, and it was beautiful. Titan was the most planets, too many mouths, not enough to go around. When we faced extinction, which they were going to offer, he offered a solution. Random disappointment. Fair to rich and poor alike, and they call me a madman, and I'm a survivor. With all six stones, I can simply snap my fingers, they would all cease to exist. I call that mercy. I finally get to rest and watch the sunrise on the graphic universe, which at the end he does. The hardest choices require the strongest wills. You have my respect, sir, but when I'm done, I have humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you. Alright, kid, you're in vision now. If you consider fair experience, I consider experience. Almighty Thanos, Loki, Prince of Asgard. Alright, I don't think I have enough time to read all quotes because we're only around 30 minutes in this. Okay. Yeah, I think we've gone long enough in this video. Alright, let me give my final thoughts on this movie. I know, guys. So let me give my final opinion on this movie, okay? Let me give my final opinion on Avengers. Let me give my final opinion on Avengers Infinity War. I loved this movie. This was real good. I don't really have a least of favorite Avengers movies, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be this. Mainly because of the ending. Before I get to that, I do like this movie. I do enjoy it. It is, you know, a bit of an emotional ride. It is an emotional movie. It is dark, and they do have some balls to what they do. They do kill some characters. Like I said, some characters, like I mentioned, do die. The Avengers don't win in here, but like I said, it does have a good story. I like how they have to that we finally get an epic battle with Thanos. I like how they brought Thanos in. Thanos is this is really like his story, his personal journey. It is, and we see Thanos, the villain in here coming, and Thanos is a threat. He has a god complex. He came from a world that was on the verge of extinction. He offered genocide, but they of course called him mad. And Thanos thinks that it's a positive thing. He sees it as the right thing to do. That killing trillions of people was the right thing to do. Probably in his mind, he thinks it makes the universe a better place, the world a better place, if you will. And that's how insane he is. And I liked his Infinity Gauntlet. He was a good villain. He put up a good fight. Yeah, he's a great threat for them to face. And a big enemy for them, major enemy for them to fight. But yeah, I'm glad they got the Avengers and Guardians and Doctor Strange and Black Panther in one movie and Spider-Man in one movie. It is an ensemble cast of characters. So a lot of them, I wish sometimes there were scenes with other characters that were talking stuff. I don't want them to die, but I hate that Gamora died. And then it's such that some of the characters die and then the movie, but we feel like we knew it. I think we knew this was gonna happen. We knew Thanos was gonna win. I just predicted it. I didn't really expect a happy ending with this movie because again, the story is good though. And they're attempting to stop him from the six powerful stones. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stop him. And it does take place after the events of Civil War, so the Avengers are broken up. All the characters in this movie, they're divided. You have things going on like Thor, Rocket, and Groot trying to get his hammer back, trying to give him a new hammer. The Guardians trying to stop Thanos, and then teaming up with Iron Man, or in the ship with Iron Man and Strange and Spidey, all trying to fight him. So the character, yeah, and then them fighting on Wakanda with Steve, with Cap, Wanda Vision, and Wanda and them, and Black Panther fighting in Wakanda as they're trying to fight Thanos' army. So there's a lot going on in this movie. That's why it's a bit of a running time, but it is a good story, and I don't mind what they had the characters. I mean, you knew it's going to be a sad, though, a dramatic movie to go through, a emotional ride to go through. It is even more emotional with Endgame. But Endgame, this is like part one, basically. If any was, and in Endgame part two, we see the effects of the snap, how it affects people and stuff, and the Avengers do, of course, do something about it. But in this movie, they were divided. They were not a team, and this what made Thanos win because they were all divided. And with that, they gave him enough time to get the stones because they had things going on in their lives. I get, in the movie they have things going on in their lives, and the Avengers just were divided, and yeah, that's why Thanos won. That's why the snap happened because the more the stones he would get, the more powerful he'd become. And Thanos set up what he said to do, and he did it. But I think everything Joe Russo, again, it is sad when the characters die in here. Yeah, that's the thing. They give us good characters that care about that we want them to defeat Thanos. Yeah, but Thanos, in some ways, you can understand his reason, maybe that he's insane, but he thinks he's doing the right thing from his point of view. But I think Joe Russo do a good job directing. I think the script is good. I think the action scenes are well shot. A lot of good action in here. I like the way the film looks, cinematography is nice, especially in Wakanda looks beautiful. Some shots in Scotland or New York look nice. Or on the spaceship. The CGI, the special effects, I think look real good. I think the motion capture for the character, especially Thanos, you know, is a really good performance. Josh Brolin is one of the best villains ever. Like I said, he's better than Apocalypse from X Men Apocalypse because he's not over the top. He's not screaming. Nobody's saying God, why, or just saying, he doesn't have to doesn't yell, scream, or be over the top. Yeah, and Josh Brolin does a better job. He's a better actor than Oscar Isaac, in my opinion. The editing is good too. The music score, dun, 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 good music score. And the running time, yeah, the pacing I thought was fine. There was a lot going on in the movie. It is an ensemble cast, so you have all these characters trying to defeat Thanos, and so there's a lot going on in the movie. I do wish some characters would have met. That would have been cool. I wish, but again, there's some things have changed, especially in Endgame. Problems. I don't like the ending though. I do hate that the characters get killed off. That was sad to see. That was depressing, seeing everybody, especially them losing. But again, it was bound to happen because they were divided. You know, and plus you didn't have Ant Man in the fight because again they were under house arrest. Scott Lang, Ant Man was under house arrest. So it was yeah. But the good news is we get Avengers Endgame. They do stop him eventually. But at least we get Endgame because of this. And this film had a reason to be successful because it was a anticipated film. They did it brilliantly. We knew the Avengers were going to lose. I mean, when they don't work as a team, when they're divided, of course Thanos has the better advantage of winning. Yeah, yeah. Because when the good guys don't want to work together as a team, you know, yeah. To make the dream work, you got to have the teamwork or whatever you're saying. But since they didn't, that's what made Thanos win. But it is an interesting story. It's a good film. It's a beautiful looking movie too. Some good special effects in there. The CGI I thought was good, especially for Thanos, and I thought you know the cast, yeah, including Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Scarlett Johansson, John Cheadle, Chadwick Boseman, Chadwick Boseman, Tom Holland, Anthony Mackie, Elizabeth Olsen, Josh Brolin, Chris Pratt, especially Josh Brolin. Everybody in here gives a good performance, and the humor works as well. It's not serious. It does still retain that Marvel humor, and it's really fun, and the humor works. But it's a great movie. It's a real good film. So, despite that, I don't like the ending of it. I hate that the characters have to die, and some characters do die, and I don't like that. But despite that, it's still a good movie. But it's just the ending is really sad when they nearly all die from Thanos' snap. But it's a good film. So I highly recommend Avengers Infinity War if you haven't seen it. Thanos is an awesome villain. And my rating for this film, I'm going to give Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War. I'm going to give this film a thumbs up and 4 out of 5 stars. So guys, tell me in the comments down below, what do you think of Avengers Infinity War in your opinion? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you prefer Avengers Endgame to be better? I do. And how would you rank the Avengers movies? And what is your favorite Avengers movie? Or least favorite, in your opinion? This would only be my least favorite because of the ending. But despite that, I still like the movie though, and the characters. Mainly because I hate that they killed the characters off. But I'm not too mad about it. That's why I said a 4 out of 5 stars rating because like I said, the reasoning for losing. But despite that, this is a really good movie. One of the best superhero films out there, in my opinion. And yes, both of them are real good because Marvel took their time for me to give a crap about these characters. And the Justice League 2017 movies, if the characters died, I probably wouldn't really care too much, to be honest. Yeah, because DC loves to rush. DCU, Warner Brothers rush. If they take their time, you could build up an awesome Justice League movie, but that never will happen. Instead, you get the Snyder version. Yeah. But anyway, enough about that. But again, Avengers Infinity War, my rating for the film is thumbs up and 4 out of 5 stars. Comment down below, guys, what you think of this movie in your opinion. And stay tuned for the next 2018 review. This film came out in May. Stars Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin, who plays Cable in the movie. Really good cast. Yeah. Margot Robbie comes back as well. And that is, of course, here we go. The Merc with the Mouth is back. And that is Deadpool 2. Yeah. Yeah. Deadpool 2. So this is next. So stay tuned for my review of Deadpool 2. Yep. Deadpool 2 will be next. So stay tuned for this, guys. Alright. And let me know in the comments down below, once again, what do you think of Avengers Infinity War? Rating for the film, once again, is 4 to 5 stars and a thumbs up. 4 to 5 stars, which you'll see in the description box below. What do you think of this movie in your opinion, guys? And stay tuned for my review, next review, Deadpool 2. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.